evening, everybody, and welcome back to Scarfy Spurs Talk. Now, obviously, I'm your host, Dan, as always, hopefully throughout this season. I'm joined by Barney and Tony tonight. You'll know Tony from last week, and Barney, throughout being on the show multiple times as well throughout the time he's been on with Harry. So anyway, obviously, we're going to be talking about the Premier League game week 4, and let's just get right into it, guys. Just want to say hello.
Yeah, hi Dan again, and hi Barney. Hope you're well.
Hi Dan, and hi Tony. Hope you're both good, mate.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I hope we are. Hopefully, all our teams win. So, obviously, let's get right into it. So, first of all, I'm just going to get the quick games up quickly. Now, the first game, Manchester United, so this is my expertise. But so the first game of the Premier League game week 4 is Southampton versus Manchester United. Manchester United are going down south to play Southampton. So, I want to get your guys' thoughts on this because obviously United haven't had the greatest start to the Premier League this season. But it's the 12:30 kickoff after an international break. Now, this is normally the fixture that most big teams kind of drop points to. Now, Southampton probably have a point to prove. They know they're facing United at the right time, let's say. So going into this, obviously, United are expected to win. But obviously, as neutrals looking into this game, would you say that United could drop points against Southampton?
I think they could. I mean, look, when we played Southampton first game of the season at home, technically you'd expect us to have took them apart 3-4-0 maybe, but it wasn't to be. We had the early red card. We had the red card to share, sent off through the antics of Broughton Diaz. And look, that they want to play football. They want to try and press, but I think they can be vulnerable. And I know we only had 10 men, so we were hanging on at times against them, and we scraped the 1-0 win. But they've got something about them. But whether it's enough that they'll stay in the Premier League this season, I doubt very much they will. But they are trying to play some sort of football under Russell Martin. Look, St Mary's is always a tough place to go to, let's be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if the game ended in a draw, if I'm honest.
Yeah. I mean,
especially the way your team's playing as well, Man United. They're not playing the greatest at the moment either, are they? So,
No, I mean, like I said, I feel like United have had the toughest start to the Premier League, to be honest. I mean, we just beat Fulham first day of the season, which was kind of expected. But Brighton away, very tough game. I mean, Arsenal dropped points there. And obviously, Liverpool, new manager bounce. They're a team that's been used to competing for titles for the last few seasons now, being up and around the top 4. So I personally believe that United had a bit of a tough start. Is that noise in the background there? Is that one of you or?
No.
Oh, right.
Not me.
A bit of buzzing sound. But anyway, obviously talk about United. We haven't had the greatest start to the season, but at the end of the day, we have to win this game. There's no excuses to Ten Hag if we drop points against Southampton. You should be going over and mauling them no matter what. Even if we had 10 men like you guys did, you guys saw out the team. You saw out the game. Sorry. And yeah, I feel like that United will be winning this game. But I'm going to say maybe 3-1, I think. But what are your thoughts?
My thoughts on the game are Southampton, yeah, they like to play football. I admire their manager a lot. And I know obviously what you said, Tony, they try to play football the right way. And they are going to pick up points sooner or later. I mean, you touched on it, Dan. You said you expected to beat us. I mean, we gave you a good game on the opening game of the season. And I think Manchester United, for all their sort of recent troubles, if you like, they are a good team and it's going to click. And they just got to sort of go through the process, I think, against Southampton. And I think on the day they should have a bit too much quality for Southampton. I think they'll give you a game, certainly. But if you want my prediction, I'm going for 2-1 Manchester United.
I mean, as long as it's a win, I don't really care. But I feel like it's because a lot of fans are against Eric Ten Hag at the moment, and I generally believe that a convincing 4-0 performance is desperately needed to get the fans off Ten Hag's back. But at the same time, no doubt the hardcore Ten Hag outers will just be saying, well, Southampton was supposed to be beating them that scoreline anyway. Like Tony, you said that your expectation was to win 3 or 4-0 against Southampton. So
yeah,
that's no disrespect towards a team like Southampton, but they have got Aaron Ramsdale in goal. He is a very good keeper. So it could be a tough game for Manchester United. So Tony, I just want to get your thoughts. I've said 3-1. Barney said 2-1. What are your thoughts for this game? You said a draw. What scoreline do you think it'll be?
As I say, it all depends how you turn up as a team. And you haven't really looked convincing, have you, to be fair? I mean, you scraped the 1-0 against Fulham. Fulham had chances to score in that game. Liverpool, obviously, that game was never going to be it was always going to be a difficult game. If I say a score draw, I'm going to go 1-1. I think it could be a 1-1 draw. The only thing I will say is just don't get caught up in Brereton Diaz with his antics, because he will go down again. Believe me, he will do. He's actually been speaking on that red card for Cher as well. And to be honest with you, what he come out with, I just thought, what a load of rubbish from the guy. Because to be honest with you, for what he said it wasn't for him. It was adrenaline in the game. He felt the contact and went down. That's just how it is. And if it's not a red card, he says VAR has got to come in and say it's not a red card. But for me, he says, I felt the contact and that's it. And he says, I'm not on Twitter much or anything like that, but that's part and parcel. People have their opinions, but I only care about what the team and the manager think as well. And then he went on to say, it's a tough one, isn't it? In this day and age, it's hard to really say, is it a red card or is it not? But it's not my decision. VAR could have sorted it out, but they didn't. And at the end of the day, I'm all good, and it is what it is, and I'm just glad to be playing football. And I thought, well, what an idiot, because I'm sorry, you were hardly touched. You went in as well with your head, and you went down as if you'd been really madly headbutted. I think if somebody really headbutts you, then you're going to go down. But if somebody just touches you, to go down like that was just shameful. And I still, to this day, do not know why VAR did not overturn that. I know they've got to try and keep things on the field, but I'm sorry, things like that should have been overturned. And he should have been yellow carded for the play acting, which would have probably resulted in him being sent off.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're talking about. Obviously, the inconsistency of VAR, we spoke about it on the last show. But at the end of the day, it's always the same question, that if it happened to your team and you got a Southampton player sent off and then you go 10-0 down and you 10 men down and then you go on to win 3 or 4-0, you're going to be celebrating like mad. Obviously, you got the 3 points. Yes, a player is suspended, that very crucial player in Fabian Schär. But at the end of the day, you've just got to see outside the Declan Rice situation. Yes, was it a red card? Probably not. But at the same time, it's the inconsistency with VAR. The new approach to the season where they want to keep it on the field and they only have to intervene if the referee is heavily wrong. So for me, it's VAR is just completely ruined itself. It's ruined its own reputation.
Totally.
It came in way too soon. It came in with the wrong motive, and it just completely tried to change football. So everything we claimed that was a foul or a red card or a yellow card or a penalty last season has changed. So it's the fans that are also having to adapt. It's the fans that are also having to change the rules, and just the same with the players. So for me, at the end of the day, yes, is it wrong that Fabian Schär was sent off? Absolutely. Diaz is, you could say, a melt for going down like that. But he's playing the game. He knows that if he feels contact, he can act like he's in Coronation Street if he wants to. And he's going to make the worst out of it. But
do you not think, though, Dan? Do you not think, though, because VAR around Europe, you never ever hear of decisions that are so bad, and that, you never hear of problems with VAR in Europe, in Spain, France, Portugal, Italy.
It's true,
but it's always our country that has the worst. And this is why I look at this and think our league hasn't got the best referees, and we're just not the best league for VAR because we just haven't got a clue how to use it. Where the likes of Holland, Italy, Spain, Portugal, France, they know how to use it. That's the difference.
Well, we're English. We all like to
100%.
have a moan, don't we? So, like, that's it really. So, I get where you're coming from. Obviously, we claim to have the best league in the world, but for me, I think that's completely untrue. We are a farmers' league. We all know Man City, and 95% chance going to win the league anyway. It's always a one-horse race, and I would say we're a bit of a farmers' league, but because it's our league and it's what we all love and what we and what we look forward to in each weekend, we're always going to hype it up. We're always going to back it to be the best. But at the end of the day, I would say that United, the Premier League probably have the most quality of all the teams. It's probably one of the most competitive leagues in the world. But at the same time, who wins it every single year? Manchester City. And it's simple as that. It's like Real Madrid or Bayern Munich in Germany. Now, I get it. Bayern Munich lost the title last season to Bayer Leverkusen. But still, these incidents will happen where the underdog or a team that's not used to winning the league will win the league at some point because, you could say the giant of the club might have a off season maybe. But we'll carry on talking about the upcoming fixtures. Now, Liverpool at home versus Nottingham Forest. Now, I think we're all going to say Liverpool on this. I think Arne Slot's going to continue this winning streak. But is there any chance that Forest can probably get something out of this, or do you think that Liverpool are just going to continue this run that they're on?
I think Liverpool got too much for them. If I'm honest, Salah's on fire. They're all on fire. Alexander-Arnold's on fire, especially after last night's performance. So you'll carry that on into Saturday. So, look, I can't say anything other than the Liverpool win, I'm afraid. So it will be, in my opinion, Liverpool will win this 3-0, hands down.
I agree, Tony. I think Liverpool.
Who's talking?
Oh, sorry. I agree, Tony. 2-0 for me. Liverpool have too much quality over the pitch. You just mentioned those players, and they'll just be too strong, I think, for Forest on the day.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, possibly they could concede. Hudson-Odoi, Elanga, Chris Wood. They are on good, decent form. But yeah, I agree with you where you say that Liverpool will have too much quality. I mean, Tony, there's a player you forgot to mention. Obviously, you mentioned Salah, you mentioned Trent Alexander-Arnold, but as well, Gravenberch. I mean, he's been absolutely incredible. He was brilliant for the Netherlands.
Yes.
He's been brilliant for the start of Liverpool, and at the same time, it makes me surprised to see that why did Jurgen Klopp not start him as often last season? They kind of played similar systems, but you could say that Slot's a lot more calmer with his approach, where Klopp likes to play box office football almost, where he's ruthless amounts of energy where they would concede quite a few goals, where Arne Slot is precision, it's perfection that he wants from his team. And you can kind of see that every team, when they get a new manager, has a new manager bounce, and they play really, really well. The players probably go an extra level. The players and the system is so different from what other teams are used to facing. It can catch them out sometimes. For me, I predicted at the start of the season Liverpool would get top 4, but it would be very tough for them. Now, I'm looking forward to how Slot handles the Champions League, because it's not, let's be honest, Liverpool don't have a massive squad. They have a lot of players for the forward positions, but in midfield and defence, they don't have the most depth. So I'm looking forward to seeing that if they get a few injuries or if something happens towards Liverpool, how does Slot deal with it? Because, for example, Eric Ten Hag last season, we dealt with a handful of injuries. Newcastle were the same as well, Tony. I'm pretty sure you can agree with the amount of injuries you had last season. It was ridiculous. And for both of us, who were both in the Champions League at the start of last season, we can both admit that injuries can definitely affect your season. And no doubt with Declan Rice's suspension and Ødegaard being injured now as well, I wouldn't be surprised if something does happen between Spurs and Arsenal this weekend. So I'm looking forward to it from a neutral standpoint. But going on to Man City versus Brentford, it's Man City at home. I feel like they normally they've started quite slow at the start of each season, but I'd say this is probably Man City's strongest start to the season. Erling Haaland with 2 back-to-back hat-tricks. Will he score another hat-trick? Probably. He's Erling Haaland. He's absolutely brilliant. So do you think that Brentford can do anything? Because they are in good form at the moment. Mbeumo, Wissa on form. But what are your thoughts? Do you think Man City is at home? Do you think Brentford can get anything?
Well, I'll go first with this one. I do think Brentford will certainly give Man City a battle. I mean, we know how great Man City are on the counter, on the attack, and Haaland is just a different level. He's a different breed, isn't he? He's scoring goals for fun. I think everyone's got him in their FPL team this season. I certainly have. And I've been really impressed with how they set up, how they go forward, how they just look like they're going to score whenever they seem to sort of go on the attack. I can see there being lots of goals in this one. I do like Brentford the way they play. That might sound strange coming from a Fulham fan, but I've got a bit of respect for them. They battle away, and they'll be there or thereabouts mid-table, I think. And I think they will adapt, to losing Ivan Toney. I think that I think these sides can. We've seen that with Bournemouth. I think they're sort of adapting without Solanke. So my prediction for Man City Brentford's 3-1 to City.
Yeah, I agree with you, Barney. I mean, look, I think City have too much for Brentford. Although Brentford have done well, as you see, and Mbeumo and Wissa have been on form this season, banging the goals in. It is one of those games. I mean, look, they have beaten Man City on their own turf before, so it's nothing new for Brentford to go there and get us 3 points. But I just think the way Man City started this season, albeit I know against Ipswich, maybe they were gifted a couple of goals by Muric, so that sort of flattered them a little bit, winning that 1-4-1 maybe. But I can see them going out there and taking Brentford apart, if I'm honest. And I'm going to say 3-0 because that's what I've got them down on me Super 6 for 3-0. So that's what I'm going for, 3-0 Man City.
I wouldn't bet against a hat-trick for Erling again.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's going to be a closer game than we're giving it, to be honest. The scoreline may be 2-0 or something, but I feel like Brentford, especially against Man City, I think it was that season. I think it was not last season, the season before. And Brentford were the only team to beat Man City at home the entire season. So, I really like Thomas Frank. I think he's a very underrated manager, and I feel like he's in. I think the same with Marco Silva as well, Barney, where I feel like that these managers deserve better clubs. Like, that's no disrespect on you guys, but these managers probably deserve to be at higher clubs in Europe. And I feel the same with Thomas Frank. What he's done with Brentford is remarkable, and he gets him, but he's made him from a nobody team from in the Championship or League One, and got him into the Premier League. And instead of being a yo-yo team where are they going to get relegated or not, we're now saying that they're going to finish mid-table. So that's a massive courtesy and congratulations towards someone like Thomas Frank, who's done that, because we see the amount of teams that are in and out of this league when they're getting promoted. It's ridiculous. Like, you see, like Norwich, they were a massive team that would go up and down there. Now they've been stuck in the Championship for the last 2 seasons. So these things happen. So when a newly relegated team comes up and stays in the Premier League as long as they have, you've got to give him credit. Now, Nick Knack, thank you for your comments. Obviously, you've got a Southampton badge as your profile, so I'm going to assume you're a Southampton fan. Now, put in your comments about what your thoughts are of Man United and Southampton's game coming up as well. So we'll quickly talk about that if you want to put some comments in, as you arrived a little bit late. But Barney, I'll let you take it away. Fulham at home versus West Ham. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm going my second game of the season. We both had sort of reasonable starts. I think West Ham will probably want to have a bit more points on the board. I'm certainly happy with 4 points from 3 games. I felt we were unlucky against United. I think we could have got a point there. We probably deserved a point against Ipswich. They looked on us as a winnable game. We beat Leicester, obviously. Going into this one, it's a London derby. It's tricky to call, really. I mean, I think, we both made good signings. I'd like to see Anderson, our centre-back start, and Sanderberg. I want to see what they're about. They came on against Birmingham in the Cup, and by all accounts, I didn't see the full game, but I saw highlights, and they were really, really good. just solid defenders. That's what you want in the Premier League. You want a good back line. And that's something we've always had, Antonio Robinson, great fullback, brilliant. I mean, you've seen his assists already. He's just up there with the very best, and Castagne, and we got a good midfield with Emil Smith Rowe. Obviously, he's firing. 2-1. I'm going to be bold. I think we can do it. I think we can carry on. I think home form will be good this season, I think, for us. Away, probably get a point here and there and a win here and there. But yeah, 2-1 to Fulham.
Now, Barney, I wanted to ask you about this. Is it your striker? Is it the Brazilian one? Is it Muniz? Is it M-U-I?
Jimenez, yeah.
Jimenez, yeah.
Yeah.
What's happened to him? Because a lot of Premier League fans expected him to have a strong start to the season. He hasn't started a great season. So is he? What are your thoughts on him at the moment? Are you disappointed, or do you feel like he's just not getting the right position? What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, Dan, I'm slightly disappointed because obviously I didn't want Jay Stansfield to go. And I'll tell you that now. I'll be open about that. And obviously Birmingham came in with ridiculous amounts of money for him. But he went, and I see the reason he did go. He wanted to play there, which is fair enough. But I wanted to get a replacement in the transfer window, to be honest with you, because as much as I love Muniz and Raul Jimenez, I do feel we're lacking at top. Generally, I do. I do sometimes wonder where. I mean, we create a lot of chances down the wings, and we get in good positions. But I don't know if you saw our highlights against Leicester. We had, a lot of the ball. We had a lot of chances, but whenever sort of our front two sort of, got the ball into good positions, it was either over the bar or just a misplaced shot. Or I think it's a confidence thing. If you were to ask me honestly, I think as soon as they get that goal, I think they will start flowing. I think it's the same for both of them. I think they're both confident strikers who probably had their moments of, let's say downtime. And we know what Muniz did last season. He suddenly just clicked when we signed that Chelsea player on loan. Suddenly he sort of had to up his game.
Yeah.
But
did Muniz win Premier League Player of the Month at one point as well?
He did, yeah.
He did. Yeah, I thought he did.
So he's got it in him. There's no doubt about that. But I just think he just needs just that one goal. I mean, I think it's all in the mind. I think half of football is in the mind. As soon as you get that goal, I think he'll be away.
Yeah, absolutely. Tony, is there anything you can add on the Fulham game? Obviously, Barney's obviously going to back his team. Do you feel like West Ham might have too much for him, or do you think Fulham are quite a strong team at home? I mean, I'd personally give it a draw. I'd say maybe a 1-1, maybe a 2-2. But it could go either way. I think it's a game that's for two very balanced teams and like I said, it could go either way. Is there anything that you could add on that possibly? You muted, pal.
Yeah, because I had an aeroplane going over before. So look, it's one of those games. I mean, West Ham have played okay. They've made some great signings this season as well, by the way. So has Fulham as well. I think this could be an entertaining game. Could be a high-scoring draw, I think. I'm actually going to say... it's going to be a 2-2 draw.
Barney, is this right? Fulham smashed them 5-0 last season. Well,
because we beat Forest 5-0 the previous game as well.
Yeah, fair enough. Obviously, Crystal Palace versus Crystal Palace. Do you have anything to add, actually? I thought I heard someone try talking then. Crystal Palace versus Leicester. I mean, Palace haven't had the greatest start, have they? Under the new manager last season, they were on fire, weren't they? But Mateta, Eze, they haven't looked the best towards the start of the season. I mean, again, I feel like that looking at the fixtures for this weekend, there could be quite a few draws, and that might balance out the table. So I feel like that this could be quite interesting. I'd say that Crystal Palace should win this game, maybe 1-0, 2-0. But what are your thoughts?
I don't know. Leicester have been okay. I mean, look, they got that Spurs draw, didn't they? And I kind of think under Steve Cooper that there's got to be something coming out of Leicester. I think this could be the weekend. Look, Palace are on a bit of a downer at the moment. They're not doing very well. Okay, they got a draw against Chelsea. but in that they haven't really set the Premier League alight. I don't know if a lot's gone on, obviously, with us chasing from our key and all this. I don't know if all that's disrupted them in the background. I think losing Elise has been a huge blow for them, as you can see. Yes, they've got Eze there, but when they had Elise on the right, they were on fire, and they haven't got that firepower now with Elise. Yes, they've got Jean-Philippe Mateta, who can score goals, and didn't Edouard go to Leicester, didn't he? So, could it be the fact that Edouard comes back and scores for Leicester? I'm going to take Leicester to win this one, 3-1.
3-1, bloody hell. I mean...
Because I just think Palace are just not... They don't look a team that's together. They haven't clicked, they haven't gelled. And for some reason, there's just something missing there. And I think maybe the Elise not being there, that's maybe the missing link that they're missing altogether. They're missing his pace on the right and his drive and runs. And, so, yeah, I think Leicester will win this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst shout. I mean, Leicester definitely have a decent team, don't they? So we'll have to see. I mean, Barney, what are your thoughts on this game? Do you agree with Tony, or do you think that it's Palace over Leicester?
No, I actually 100% agree with Tony here. I don't think it'd be a 3-goal game, as what Tony said. I think Leicester, from what I saw of them quite recently, they had their moments in our game. They just weren't clinical enough at times, and it's one of those, when they do click, they will click. And I think Palace are missing something at the moment, and I do think Leicester can actually pull off a result here. So I'm going for 2-1 Leicester.
Okay, I mean, obviously this is a football show. We're all entitled to our own opinion, but I quite agree with Nick Nacker, where he said Palace will be too good for Leicester as long as they take the chances. I think for me, I would say that it probably will be a draw. I'd say probably a 1-1. I'd say. I mean, like I said before, yeah, I feel like that with looking at certain fixtures, there'll be a lot of like draws this weekend. But Palace have miles better quality than what Leicester have. So obviously Jamie Vardy, he's Jamie Vardy, innit? Like, you remember a few years ago when he did his bird eagle celebration when he scored a goal there. So for me, that's a brilliant moment of Jamie Vardy's. But no, I think it could go either way. But personally, I'd say that it will be a draw. But I feel like Palace will have more control in the game than Leicester will. I feel Leicester will be open for the counter-attack. But again, like I said, it's a football show. We all have our own opinions. But
yeah, Edouard, by the way, sorry, I meant to say Edouard won't play against Palace because he's on loan. I forgot it. Leicester didn't sign him permanently. So he won't be able to play on Saturday. But yeah.
Fair enough, but Leicester still have quite a few good players, don't they? So I don't think that'll really matter. Vardy will lead the front line. They've got quite a few good wingers with them. I think the midfield is all right. So I feel like that Leicester. I think we talked about it last week, didn't we, Tony? Where Leicester shouldn't have gone down that season. So I feel like that, and they dominated the Championship last season. So obviously, I know Ipswich did really well to keep up with them, but didn't Leicester finish with over 100 points, or was it like 99 points or something? So
I think they finished just over 100 points, yeah.
Yeah, so, that's no small task. You've got to win quite a few games to do that, haven't you? So, end of the day, I think Leicester are a very decent team, but like Nick Nack said, I feel like that Palace will have a bit more quality for him. But Brighton versus Ipswich, Brighton at home. Now, I think this is a Brighton win all over it. Again, I feel like that they've shown they've had a decent start to the season. They beat Manchester United, they drew with Arsenal. So I feel like with Ipswich, Brighton will be in full control of this game. I mean, I think we also spoke about it last week, Tony, saying that a lot because we did speak about a lot. We were recording for over an hour. But I think we said that if Ipswich have any hope of staying in the Premier League, they have to get their points from home, because I feel like on the road, that's where they're going to really, really struggle. I don't know if we talked about that or I'm making it up.
Yeah.
But what do you think about that? Do you feel like Ipswich can get anything out of Brighton, or do you think Brighton have too much quality?
I mean, Brighton at the Amex are a different side. We know that, the different gravy, as Man United found out. But, yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be tough for Leicester because Brighton are playing well under their new coach at the moment, Fabian Erlitzar. So you know, they're doing very well. And consider, you know, I know the pundits keep making the thing of it. He's only 31. He's the youngest in the league. Well, yeah, we know he is, but you know, it doesn't matter as long as you. Doesn't matter how old you are, as long as you're good enough and you can do the job. You know, I don't think they'd care if he was only 15-year-old. As long as he's doing the job, that's the main thing. You know, not that I'm saying he can work a 15-year-old because it's illegal in this country, but you know. But yeah, I think he's done well for Brighton. And look, I think it'll be tough. But Ipswich have got some good players in that squad, and you know they've made some good signings. But I just think on the day, Brighton may just have that little bit too much for Ipswich, I'm afraid, on this occasion. So I'm going to say 3-1 Brighton, because I think Ipswich will score. But I think Brighton will run out 3-1 winners on this one.
Yeah, I agree with a similar scoreline. Barney, anything that you want to add? Do you think Ipswich have got it, or do you think it's going to be tough?
Well, touching on what Tony said, I mean, Ipswich will obviously identify a number of teams that they want to take points against, and I think their home form will be crucial to standing any chance of staying up. I mean, as I touched on earlier in the show, they looked on probably our game as a winnable game, and they will look on their point against us as, you know, really, really good. It's going to be hard for them to go away from home, particularly a side in as great form as Brighton, as we've spoken about. You know, they've had 2 great wins, they're scoring goals, and they look a threat going forward. So I can only see really a Brighton win at this stage. I think Ipswich will battle, certainly. They've got some quality players. They made some decent signings, and they're not, you know, in the Premier League just to make up numbers. I mean, they've risen from League One to the Premier League. You know, they've got something about them. They're a good side, but I think Brighton will run out 2-1 winners.
Yeah, I feel like we can all say that a Brighton win probably is the right result here. Now, this for me could be I don't know what to say. A job deciding game, to be honest. Aston Villa at home versus Everton. Now, could we see Sean Dyche sacked by Monday? Because if Villa smash Everton once again, I feel like the fans are going to lose it, because dead last is not good for Everton. You know, they did well to survive last season, but at the end of the day, I feel like that this could be Sean Dyche's last game for Everton if they get smashed. What do you think, Tony?
Can Everton afford to sack Sean Dyche? That's the thing. You know, can they really afford to sack him? But the way I see this one is there's only one winner in this game for me, and that's not Everton, unfortunately. That's Aston Villa who will win this game. I mean, look, the last game Everton played, they were 2-0 up against Bournemouth, and everybody thought, yeah, they're on their way to that win here. And then after the 87th minute, they capitulated and lost 3-2 through their own downfall. I think Villa's got too much for them, and I think it's going to be another game where they're going to get an absolute tonking. So I'm going to say Villa will turn up and win this 3-0.
Do you think that Sean Dyche would get the sack then if that happens?
Well, he'll be under pressure, but as I say, can they afford to sack him? Have they got the money to sack him? And who could they bring in? Who wants to go into that club? I mean, you know, we signed Anthony Gordon from there, and he got out of that club because of the way the fans were so toxic towards him.
Yeah.
So, you know, and you can see the way their fans are. So I don't know whether he'd get the sack or not. Maybe they may keep him on for a little bit longer to see if he can turn it round.
Yeah.
But maybe this is their time. Maybe this is the time that Everton go down and they can have their brand new shiny stadium in the Championship gleaming next season rather than in the Premier League. But this is, you know, you say a cat has 9 lives. Well, I'm sure Everton's running out of them lives now, and I'm sure it's their time to go down, because they should have gone down a couple of years ago. Let's be honest, Bournemouth should have got a draw against them, and that's when Leicester should have stayed up and they should have gone down. But, you know, yeah, so for me, look, I would say it could possibly be his last game, but I'm not so sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Kallum, welcome to the show, mate. obviously we're talking about the Villa and Everton game. Obviously, Aston Villa are favourites going into this game. Would you say that this could be Sean Dyche's last game, or do you think Everton can get something out of this game?
If the Everton if the Everton senior staff prove how big a bunch of morons I think they are, if they do sack him, then they just prove everyone correct. Just shows how piss poor the club has been run by Mashiri and all their other stakeholders. And it'd be nice, like Tony said, with them having a brand spanking new stadium that looks like Tin Pot in the Championship and all that, to be honest. So they'd be stupid to do it, but they've sacked people for less. They've been on a downward spiral for so long, and it's like I've said on a couple of shows now, that the fact that they've had 3 failed takeover bids and the fact that they actually owe money to 2 of the takeover bids in loan payments that they use to cover debt is just extenuating the circumstances. So I think anything with Everton is a poison chalice, and if anyone is backing Everton to do anything in this game, then I think they've got their head very thoroughly in the clouds, to be honest, because Villa annoyed me last year. They pipped Spurs Champions League, which was probably ready for them. They've not played too badly this year, and if they can get their sort of rhythm going, they could probably decimate this Everton side. I mean, we did them 4-0. It looks like they're just even worse now. To go from 2-0 up to losing 3-2, it's pretty dire. I mean, I know Newcastle did it against West Ham last year, but that was a bit of fun and all that. So it's not
Did
too
it to you as well, didn't they?
Nah, it's one of them where literally Everton are so poor as an outfit, and no matter even if they've sold Onana in the summer, they just didn't invest any money because there is no money to be had in there. Mashiri is just draining the club dry, and building this brand new spanking stadium has just put debt on debt on debt. So it's definitely going to be a difficult one, to say the least, for them to get themselves out of this hole if Sean Dyche ain't there.
Yeah, I agree with you. Barney, is there anything you want to add on that? Do you feel like that Everton can get out of this, anything out of this, or do you think it's all Villa?
Unfortunately, I'm just touching what the guys said. Everton just seem to be a side all over the place at the moment. I don't know what kind of game plan they really have and direction they have at the moment. I mean, Tony, you touched on it. They've been pushing above their weight for a couple of seasons now. They should have gone down, in my opinion, a couple of seasons ago. And the quality to compete at this level, we all know that you need to be of a certain standard. And I've not seen anything, particularly in the last 2 seasons, that made me go sort of, wow, I think Everton can turn a corner here. They've had escapes, yeah, but they've never sort of pushed on from that. Some sides, they'll look at those moments and think, we need to sort of get our ideas up here. We need to push on, but they just haven't seemed to do that. And I can only see an Aston Villa win here quite comfortably, 4-1.
Fair enough. That's an interesting take, let's say. With the few other games that we've got remaining, Tony will mention your team before the North London derby, especially because that's what this preview is supposed to be all about. But yeah, Bournemouth versus Chelsea. I think that'd be quite an entertaining game. I mean, Chelsea were poor against Crystal Palace. They seem to be a very one-half team at the moment, whether it's in the first or second half. It's like they're only good in one half of each game so far under, is it Maresca? So at the end of the day, I feel like that Bournemouth could do something. I mean, they've proved what they could do against Everton. I mean, I know it's not hard, but at the end of the day, Bournemouth have clearly got that mentality where they won't give up until the final whistle, which I really, really respect. I feel like that the Bournemouth manager is very underrated. And we mentioned before, Kallum, that managers like Marco Silva, Thomas Frank, and the Bournemouth manager as well, I feel like they're very underrated and do belong at bigger clubs to be well, in my opinion anyway. So do you feel like Bournemouth can get anything? It is Bournemouth at home, but that's also like, Spurs or United away. There's how small their stadium is. So at the end of the day, I feel like that it'll be an interesting game. I would say that Chelsea probably should have this game because, they have about 9 million players and much better quality than what Bournemouth have. But like I said, the mentality of Bournemouth, you can't deny.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to say the least. I think Bournemouth are a very underrated team. They are one of my favourite teams to watch at times. I mean, they definitely have something about them where they can turn up at any ground, and just the sheer determination of their players is brilliant. Whereas you look at the other.
Just try and mute a second, Barney and Tony, while Callum's talking.
Was that me or was that Barney?
No, it's happening all show. I'm not sure what's happening.
Okay, no worries. But yeah, with someone like Chelsea, I mean, you don't know what team they're going to pick. I mean, even with the amount of injuries they've probably picked up in this international break, they've probably got another 11 ready just to go, just on the bus waiting. They'll probably field a whole under-21 setup that's probably worth about 8 teams worth in the Premier League. That's how ridiculous they are as a club. But yeah, if Maresca can get something done, he may scrape a 2-1 win against Bournemouth, but I wouldn't put it past Bournemouth to actually do something like that to Chelsea. So it's one of them games that would probably be quite interesting this weekend, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, I agree. Tony, do you feel like that Chelsea can get anything against Bournemouth, or do you think it's going to be the other way around? Do you think Bournemouth can get anything against Chelsea, or do you think Chelsea? Because I'd say Chelsea are the favourites going into this game, but what do you think?
I mean, look, we know what Bournemouth are like. Semenyo's on fire at the minute for them. Kluivert's on fire. Quite a lot of them are on fire at the moment for Bournemouth. Chelsea, I mean, the last outing, a 1-1 draw with Palace. Bournemouth are a different opposition. They're not a bad side, let's be honest. It actually wouldn't surprise me if Bournemouth turned Chelsea over, if I'm honest. Because I still look at Chelsea as a team full of individuals. They're not a team they're just a team that Todd Bowley decides to play FIFA 24 manager and go out there and thinks he's playing a computer game by buying all these players and throwing them in the team. But they've got a gel. And okay, yes, I know they went and beat Wolves 6-2 and Madueke got a hat-trick. But after the Lord Mayor show, they sort of calmed down and went to a 1-1 draw with Palace. Wouldn't surprise me if Bournemouth won this game. But I'm gonna stick my neck out here and say it's going to be a high scoring draw, 3-3.
Oh wow. Barney, going to you, mate. Do you feel like, do you agree with Tony, or do you feel like Chelsea might have too much quality for Bournemouth?
Well, I wrote down my prediction earlier, but I think Bournemouth are one of these sides I've always admired greatly. I like what their manager, I like what they're trying to do. A club, like you said earlier, Marco Silva, this Bournemouth manager, they're established Premier League clubs in mid-table. And it's good credit to them. Obviously, with Chelsea having that crazy result the other week and then being brought back to earth with the draw, obviously on paper, Chelsea are going to be favourites, but I fancy Bournemouth in this. I'm actually going for 2-1 Bournemouth.
Very fair enough. I mean, is it Imola? I think it's called. So yeah, I feel like the Bournemouth manager is a high quality manager, and he's done well with Bournemouth. Tony, time for your specialty. Newcastle versus Wolves. Obviously, you are away. Molineux isn't the easiest place to go to. Now, what are your thoughts going into this game? Now, obviously, we spoke about last week. Newcastle haven't been at the best form towards the start of the season, but you've still got the games over the line for the fair few anyway. So, obviously, I'll let you take it over. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, look, Wolves hasn't been a happy hunting ground, let's be honest, for us. Last season we had a 2-2 draw down there. Yes, okay, we got a dodgy penalty in that game. Thankfully we did, because we wouldn't have come out with that with a draw, that's for sure. Huang normally has a good game against us. So did Cheese Strings as well, but now he's not there. Neto, I mean, by the way. He's now gone, so they haven't got Pedro Neto now. But I remember last season he terrorised us for about a good 64, 65 minutes before he went off with his hamstring injuries, and that's why I nicknamed him Cheese Strings. But yeah, look, it's going to be a difficult game down there at Wolves. It always is. It'll be a battle. Last year it was in pouring rain. The year of our takeover, it was in pouring rain under Steve Bruce when we lost 2-1 down there. So, look, we haven't had the best of times there. We haven't been playing well this season, I'm going to be honest with you. We haven't been great. We're lucky to have 7 points on the board, if I'm honest. We scraped the win against Southampton, scraped a draw against Bournemouth. We should have lost that game. VAR helped us out that day. We scraped it against Spurs. So look, it depends how we turn up.
I like how you said about scraping against Bournemouth with VAR, but you're moaning about the Southampton thing still. So
yeah,
see,
I mean,
when it goes in your favour, you're happy about it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, look, we should have lost to Bournemouth. Let's be honest, we should have.
Yeah.
We should have lost that game.
Should have lost to us as well.
Yeah, well, could have. Spurs had to put that chances away. Yeah, absolutely.
If we'd have had a striker on a poxy field and not a load of inverted poxy wingers, we'd have been all right.
yeah. But I mean, look, this is going to be a difficult game. But I don't think Wolves have set ourselves on fire this season. So I can see us going there and finally getting a win. And I'm just hoping Anthony Gordon now starts playing better, because he hasn't had the best start of the season. Yes, okay, we've had the Euros and he's had the extended break and all this. But I'm just hoping with the 2 England games he's had under Carsley, and he's looked really, really happy, that now brings that back to his game. And on Sunday, we will see a different Anthony Gordon on the field. So if Anthony Gordon's firing, Isak's firing as well. Well, hopefully he's firing now, because he scored 3 in 2 games for Sweden as well, which is fantastic. So the players are firing at the right time. It's not going to be easy, because Wolves have got some good players in there. Them couple of Brazilians have got as well, one of them Gomez. I think we'll win it, but I'm going to say 2-1. We'll win 2-1.
Fair enough. I mean, Wolves have scored 3 and conceded 9 so far. I mean, I feel like that from an outsider's perspective on Newcastle, I feel like that Newcastle score a lot, but recently they do concede quite a few, or struggle to keep a clean sheet at the moment, where in the first season you had an impenetrable defence, which is why you got yourselves a place in the Champions League in that season. But, I'd say that Newcastle are favourites for this game. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's an away game. It's always going to be tough. You're never going to be you're always going to be at a disadvantage when it comes to the home crowd and stuff. But anyway, we'll talk about the last game, and that is the North London derby. Now, Kallum, we've held off for long enough for you to talk about this, so I'll let you take it away. Tottenham at home, Arsenal with Declan Rice suspended, and Ødegaard now injured. Do you feel like you can get some out of this game?
I think this has got to be one of our best chances to do something, because Spurs for about 4 or 5 years were so far ahead of Arsenal. Now we've regressed as a club, and they've gone to where we were. They've had 2 title challenges the last 2 years. They are definitely the best informed team, probably behind City on form guides the last 18 to 24 months. And I hate to admit it, but the way that it's working, I mean, they don't have any midfield at the moment, so I think it's got to be close to Arteta pulling on a jersey and going out there and seeing if he can still do it, to be honest. Because I believe, it's Rice, Ødegaard, and I can see quite a few others that are still got niggling injuries. I think Jesus may still be out. I believe Martinelli could have an injury as well, from what I'm hearing.
As well, the new signing. So I spoke to an Arsenal fan the other day, actually, and he did say that it could be Jorginho and Partey starting in midfield, which, that just doesn't sound great, especially. Is Sarr injured for you, or is he playing?
Sarr could play, but it looks like Basuma could be out injured, because he went out last night the Marley game with a hamstring injury potentially, so they've got to have a look at that. So I mean, if our midfield may be a Bentancur, Madison, Kulusevski set up like we did in the second half against Newcastle, which did kind of work, or it could be a Sarr with them two in a diamond, potentially playing Madison and Bentancur alongside him. So
why is Kulusevski playing midfield all of a sudden then? Because I always thought he was a winger. Like
he's not a sort of Ange type winger, so he always likes to cut in, whereas Ange likes someone like Brennan Johnson to hug and Werner hugging the touchline and then cutting in and do an L-shape run and pass into the box where it's a i.e. easy goal as such, playing it on the foot. I mean, I think it's how we scored against Dan Burn in the last game as well. So it does have its advantages, but it's one of them where if you've got to have all your forwards on the same wavelength and the same page and actually have a proven goal scorer to be able to do it. So I haven't seen any sort of released team news yet, whether Solanke, Van der Ven are back in training or whether they're doing anything. Richarlison apparently could still be out as well. So I think both teams are coming into it with their own problems with injuries, and our midfield is well stacked, but forward line is weak, whereas they've got a forward line but ain't got a midfield at the moment. So it's going to be an interesting one to say the least.
It will be. I feel like quite a few of us will be watching that game. But at the end of the day, like you said, it's probably Spurs' best chance to maybe get something out of this game. But at the end of the day, Barney or Tony, what do you think about this game? Do you feel like Spurs can get anything, or do you think Arsenal just have too much quality?
Yeah, I'll go first. I think Arsenal, obviously Spurs as well, both have their issues in the team. North London derbies are always hard to call. It's always been exciting. It's one of the games actually I like most of the season. I think both have their threats. Going forward, I mean, I've always rated Son. I think, either side is capable of scoring a goal on their day. I think Spurs can just do this. I've gone for 2-1 Spurs.
Is Harry Page to say that? No, just me. I thought it was quite funny. Anyway.
Say again. You broke up there. Say again.
Oh no, I said I did Harry Page to say that. So.
No. That was purely my own prediction.
Fair enough. No, I mean, I don't like Arsenal. I explained why at the start of the show, but I feel like that they still will have enough quality, and I feel like this is a great test to Arsenal now because, quite a few of their Twitter fans and content creator fans like to think that they're up there and they're probably one of the best teams in the Premier League all of a sudden. I mean, for me, Invincibles only just getting the top 10 teams of Premier League history. So this Arsenal team are nowhere near top 10 Premier League sides of all time, in my opinion, anyway. So, they are a very good team. Yeah, Kallum, you explained before that in the last probably about 12, 18 months, they have been probably the second best informed team. So, Arsenal are a very decent side, but if they want to prove that they are this title contending team and you do win these games with injuries or not, I mean, Man City, they did lose games when Rodri was unavailable, but they win games when Haaland is unavailable. So I get it. Certain players that are key to a system can make a difference. I mean, United, we fell short quite a few times last season with our defence issues and stuff. So, like I said, injuries can definitely play a part. But if Arsenal want to prove that they can win the Premier League this season, then you need to win these games with your full strength squad or not. But Tony, obviously, just come to you last. Do you feel like is it an Arsenal or Spurs victory, or are you going for another high scoring draw?
I think it's going to be a tough game between two teams. But if Spurs go out on the attack, Arsenal will hit them on the break. Yes, okay, they're without Rice, without Odegaard, who's out for 3 weeks now. So it all depends who they have in that midfield, whether it's Jorginho and Partey or whoever else they have in there. But look, we know they can be dangerous, Arsenal. Trossard can be dangerous for them, especially on the left. Saka, he hasn't played great for England, so I don't know if he's going to be on fire on Sunday or not. So that remains to be seen. But this is a game that could go either way. And there's an odd goal in this game, and my prediction is, and this way I look at it, I think Arsenal will sneak it 2-1.
Fair enough. Kallum, I just wanted to ask you, is Udogie available for this game?
Udogie is available for this game,
Right.
yeah.
Anyone who bets, get a yellow card on Udogie because it's definitely going to happen against Saka. So,
Oh, bollocks.
no.
Well, as long as we don't play Ben Davis as an inverted fullback like last year, then hopefully
is he still at Spurs?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
He got his 10th year with us about a week ago. It was
Yeah,
ridiculous.
he got his testimonial then when he does go.
Oh, no. Like he's going to join the coaching staff like every other failed player for us, to be honest.
But no, I'll give my quick prediction. I'd say that it's going to be Arsenal 3-1. I just feel like they'll have too much quality for Spurs. I mean, that really depends if Van de Ven is available, because in my opinion, I think Van de Ven's Spurs' best player. I think he's one of top 3 centre-backs in the league when he's fit, because for the size he is and how fast he is, it's unfair, to be honest. Like, I call Haaland like the Terminator with R9's feet. Like, the same with Van de Ven. Like, he's got Usain Bolt's pace, but he's like a mountain at the same time. He's a freak of nature, but obviously he's just had quite a few injuries. So I feel like that if he's in the team, then I would say that Spurs could actually get something, because I'd be a lot more confident in them keeping a clean sheet. But if they don't, then I think it would go to Arsenal. I feel like that Van de Ven being available is the massive game changer in this game. But quickly, guys, do you want to tell us where we can find you?
I'll head up. So you can find me on the Soul Black and White TV. It's behind me on the screen there. I do pre-match shows, previews, match reviews. I do everything. So catch me on there and drop a subscribe if you want to do that, and that'll be fantastic. Thank you very much.
Barney?
Yeah. Barney here. I'm on X as well, Ambrose Barnaby. I sort of taken part in many of these shows now, sort of getting the hang of it. I'll get there, but it's really good to talk to you all, and feel free to follow me, and big up to Harry for inviting me onto this show, and thank you, Dan, for being a great host.
Thank you very much. Kallum, quick debut for you. Well, no, not debut, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah, pretty much a quick in and out as usual. It's like ours, conduct most of my business, so I'm all right on that front. But yeah, so it's Kallum Stubbs 97 on Twitter. You can find me at Park Lane Podcast. I'm doing a lot more stuff with Harry and the guys and different podcasts at the moment. So yeah, go over, check us out, and obviously like and subscribe to Harry's channel. And thanks as always, Dan, for having me on again, mate.
No worries, mate. Just quickly want to say this: late night tapping for Gerard. What is it called? Gerard. I'm not sure what you call it, mate. But wait, he said top 3. I'm assuming that's what I said about Van de Ven. Now, apart from Van Dijk and Saliba, I don't see a better player than Van de Ven personally. Ruben Diaz is a quality defender, but he doesn't have the pace of Van de Ven. And personally, for me, again, it's just my opinion, but at the end of the day, I'm not even a Spurs fan, and that's just me looking at it on the outside. I mean, I had this argument because I said that Martinez for United is top 5 centre-backs in the Premier League, but he is 5th, where I don't think that I can name like 3 or 4 better defenders than Van de Ven. But that's just my opinion, mate. I mean, you might call me delusional, but whatever. It's just my opinion. But yeah, you can find me on Red Devils TV, United fan channel. I think I'm like 4 subscribers away from 2,000. So if you could subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. And as always, Harry, thank you for hosting. Well, not hosting, so getting us all together. I enjoy speaking to neutrals, and it gives me a great insight on rivals and other teams' insight. But yeah, thank you for everyone who's watched this evening. Thank you to everyone who's commented, and I'm pretty sure we'll see you all next week. Thank you for watching.